This little girl's name is Mai. Her mom had to go out to buy some things, so she told Mai to stay home and play, warning her not to go outside. Little Mai was very obedient. She just stayed home playing hide and seek with the neighborhood kids. She looked everywhere for a hiding spot, but her friends had already claimed all the good ones, so Mai was forced to find somewhere else. At the supermarket, Yoshi heard people whispering about a suspicious character appearing around the neighborhood. Feeling anxious, she rushed home as fast as she could. But who would have guessed that when she got there, Mai and the other kids were nowhere to be found. Asking the neighbors, she learned their kids had gone home long ago, but no one had seen Mai. Her husband, Suzuki, heard the news and rushed home in a panic. That very night, Yoshi reported her missing daughter to the police. While taking the tablecloth to the laundry, Yoshi noticed the washing machine was unusually full. She looked inside and let out a horrified scream. Turned out Mai had hidden inside the washing machine, got stuck, and suffocated to death. A year passed, but the pain didn't fade even a little. Yoshi was so traumatized that she got rid of the washing machine and didn't dare buy a new one. She joined a support group for parents who lost children, but every time she opened her mouth, she would burst into uncontrollable sobbing, speaking in jumbled, incoherent sentences. Clearly, she was still too obsessed with Mai's tragic death. Mai's grandmother came to visit and found the house cold and messy. Mai's room had been kept exactly as it was when she was alive, and no one dared to touch it. Seeing this, she advised Yoshi to hold a memorial service for Mai at the sacred temple, hoping the child's soul could rest in peace. While Yoshi was hesitant and thinking it over, a sudden gust of wind snatched a flyer right out of her hand. She frantically chased after it, but every time she got close, it flew further away. It led her all the way to a bustling antique market. When she finally grabbed the paper, Yoshi suddenly looked to her side. Inside a box covered in talismans was a doll that looked exactly like little Mai. That evening, Suzuki saw his wife smiling as bright as a flower, so he felt happy too. But who would have guessed that, sitting at the dining table was a doll? Yoshi happily showed off that she bought it for a pretty high price. And this doll looked way too human, especially its soulful eyes, which made Suzuki curious enough to examine it for a while. Since getting the doll, Yoshi became noticeably cheerful and bright. She carefully trimmed its nails, wiped its face, and cut its hair to look exactly like Mai when she was alive, treating it just like her lost daughter. That night, her husband was terrified to see a carbon copy of Mai in the house. Yoshi took the doll with her to her therapy session. Although her husband was worried, the doctor explained that this is called doll therapy, and it can be helpful for the emotional recovery process. Just like stuffed animals can help people get over the pain of losing a pet. Since this therapy is scientifically recognized, the doctor advised him not to worry too much. From then on, Yoshi took Mai shopping, then out to the beach for walks and photos. The couple and the doll were just like a happy family of three. Suzuki was very relieved to see his wife had truly overcome her grief. The proof was that she had just bought a new washing machine. Life went on peacefully like that, until one day Yoshi discovered she was pregnant. Not long after, she gave birth to a healthy baby girl and named her Mai. From that moment, the whole house revolved around the baby, and the doll was pushed to the sidelines. The photos on the wall were replaced one by one, as if the past never existed. Actually, Yoshi didn't intentionally throw the doll away. She just naturally forgot about it. One day, accidentally seeing the doll lying among a pile of stuffed animals, she placed it next to Mai in the cradle, as if it were the big sister watching the baby sleep. Unexpectedly, a moment later, there was the sound of a baby screaming. Yoshi and her mother-in-law panic rushed into the room. Before their eyes, the doll was lying on top of Mai. The baby's neck was scratched and bleeding because a lock of hair was wrapped tightly around her skin. No one understood what had just happened. In a panic, Yoshi and her husband immediately put the doll back into its old box and hid it deep inside the closet. In the blink of an eye, 5 years passed. Mai was now an active and curious 5-year-old girl. While looking for a lost marble, she crawled into the closet and accidentally found the doll stored inside. Mai named it A and insisted that her mom let her play with it. Yoshi noticed the doll's hair and nails seemed to have grown longer. She shuddered for a moment but quickly brushed it off, thinking she was just overthinking. But from then on, strange things began to appear. Yoshi saw little Mai often talking to A, but she kept it a secret and wouldn't tell her mother. One night, Mai quietly crawled into bed next to her mother, complaining that it hurt her, so she couldn't sleep. She said the doll was jealous of her. It told her it wasn't fair that only she got to be loved. Yoshi brushed it off as just a child's imagination. She coaxed Mai back to bed and then placed the doll up on a high shelf so her daughter could sleep peacefully. The next day, Mai invited her classmate Rina over to play, bragging that she had a doll that could talk. Rina didn't believe her and twisted the doll's arm to see if it would cry out in pain. making Mai visibly angry. Suddenly, Rina screamed and ran out to tell her mom. Bright red bite marks were clearly visible on the little girl's arm. Mai claimed it did it, but Yoshi didn't believe her and forced her to apologize to her friend. Luckily, Rina's mom didn't make a big fuss about it. The next day, Mai asked her mom to play hide and seek, but Yoshi said she was busy organizing photos of Mai's older sister, so Mai threw a tantrum and stomped off. A while later, Yoshi went into Mai's room and found the old photos of the first Mai, but in all of them, Mai's face had been scribbled out with black marker. Mai blamed Ai again, but her mom didn't buy it and even scolded Mai for lying. In the struggle, Mai got so angry that she bit her mother's arm. At school, the teacher also reassured Yoshi that this was just imagination or pretend play, which is common for kids at this age. But she showed Yoshi some bizarre drawings Mai had made, which the little girl claimed I told her to draw. The twisted images sent a chill down Yoshi's spine. One drawing showed two people hanging by their necks, and another looked like a baby boiling in a pot of water. That night, in a daze, Yoshi felt someone crawl into bed next to her. At first, she thought it was her daughter, but when she opened her eyes, she jumped in shock. Lying next to her wasn't Mai, it was the doll. From that moment, Yoshi started to genuinely fear the doll, but Suzuki thought his wife was just being paranoid. He said maybe Mai was just being mischievous and put it on the bed. After sending Mai off on the school bus, Yoshi returned home, immediately stuffed the doll into a bag, and took it out to throw in the dumpster. But unexpectedly, just a short while later, she saw it lying right there in the house. Terrified and desperate, Yoshi lost control and rushed in, smashing the doll repeatedly. When she turned around, she saw the doll sitting in the room looking out, while Mai lay unconscious from her beating. Just then, she jolted awake. Turned out it was just a nightmare, but the freezing feeling still clung to her. She opened the door and discovered the doll lying right in front of the house. It turned out someone had returned it because she had disposed of bulky waste against regulations. Yoshi immediately grabbed the doll and ran straight to the garbage truck, begging them to take it away for her. A moment later, the trash was fed into the compactor. A worker noticed the doll had fallen on the ground, so he picked it up and threw it into the machine. Not long after, the piercing sound of an ambulance siren rang out, and a bad feeling rose in her gut. Yoshi rushed out to look and learned that the garbage collector had been pulled into the compactor. Luckily, he didn't lose his life. Right after that, Mai sulkily walked out of the trash, hugging the doll. Yoshi watched a video recording and claimed the doll had been talking to Mai, but her husband only saw Mai talking to the doll by herself. He began to think that Yoshi was the unstable one. The next day, just after Yoshi took her sedative, Mai demanded to play hide and seek. Catching a glimpse of her daughter running into the room, Yoshi followed. On the bed was a pile of blankets heaving up and down as if someone was hiding inside. She flipped the blanket, but Mai wasn't there. When she bent down to look under the bed, Mai suddenly jumped down and dashed away. Yoshi chased after her and saw the little girl crawl into the washing machine. This dragged her right back to the horrific memory from years ago. She held her breath and peered inside the machine. Suddenly, a ferocious face lunged out to grab her. In a panic, she shoved it to the ground. When she regained her senses, she realized it was little Mai screaming in pain. Thankfully, the wound on Mai's head wasn't too serious. While Yoshi was taken for psychological counseling, the doctor asked Suzuki if his wife had shown any unusual behavior recently. Then he showed Suzuki the red scratch marks etched on Mai's back. Suzuki asked Mai who did this, but the little girl was too scared to say. Suzuki started to get truly worried. He decided to have Yoshi admitted to the hospital for treatment for a while to stabilize her mental state. Mai was sent to stay at her grandmother's house temporarily. Yoshi went into a total panic when she learned her daughter had taken the doll with her to grandma's. Suzuki had to comfort her for a while before she could calm down. Even so, she still begged her husband to take the doll to the temple for a ritual cremation. Suzuki contacted the temple immediately, but they reported that their schedule was full for this month and scheduled it for next month instead. Suzuki took a picture of the box containing the doll and sent it to the temple. By chance, he noticed the inscription carved on the box. "This is the doll J, daughter of Mr. Kokichi Yasumoto." Suzuki went online to do some research and found out that Kokichi Yasumoto was a doll artisan famous nearly 100 years ago, and J was the doll he cherished the most. Right at that moment, someone from the temple called in a panic, saying they had to cremate the doll tomorrow because it was extremely dangerous. Tomorrow morning, they would come personally to take it away. Suzuki found a video from a YouTuber group called the Paranormal Commando Squad. In the clip, they recounted that back then, the artisan Kokichi's daughter, named Jay, had mysteriously disappeared. Afterward, his wife started believing that Jay's beloved doll was actually her daughter. When she passed away, the doll was buried with her in the coffin. Rumor has it that it crawled out of the grave on its own and is wandering around looking for a new owner. The YouTuber group excitedly flocked to the artisan Kokichi's home island to hunt for the living doll. But the result of several hours of searching was absolutely nothing. That night, Grandma put Mai to bed and then went to the outer room to watch TV. But who would have guessed, a while later, she felt Mai had woken up at some point, and the little girl jumped onto her back. She intended to carry Mai back to bed. But shockingly, she saw Mai sleeping in the bed. At that moment, she realized what was clinging to her back. It wasn't her granddaughter, it was the doll. Grandma was so terrified that she immediately locked the doll in the storage room and called Suzuki. With a trembling voice, she told him that this doll seemed like a living person. Suzuki reassured her that she just needed to wait until tomorrow. The temple would come to take it away for cremation. Hearing that, Grandma felt temporarily relieved. Suzuki re-watched the video of Mai talking to the doll. In it, the little girl mentioned A's hometown in the Karakawa district, Niigata Prefecture, which just happened to be the hometown of the artisan Kokichi. The name J has several different pronunciations, and one of them is A. These eerie coincidences sent a chill down Suzuki's spine. He immediately drove like a madman to his mother's house, while calling her to tell her to watch Mai very closely. As soon as he hung up, Grandma heard a rattling noise. It turned out the storage room door was banging open and shut. She tremblingly opened the door and discovered the automatic robot vacuum was the culprit. But the problem was, the doll had vanished. She rushed into Mai's room only to find the bed empty and the window wide open. She panicked and ran outside to find her granddaughter. A passerby said they had just seen two little girls holding hands walking on the nearby bridge. She ran there and saw a silhouette that looked like Mai sitting on the bridge railing. She called her granddaughter's name while tiptoeing closer. Unexpectedly, the little girl suddenly jumped down. When Suzuki arrived, Grandma wasn't home. Only Mai was standing silently in the garden holding the doll, with a red stain like blood on her mouth. He asked where Grandma was, but Mai just stared at him blankly without saying a word. He hurriedly stuffed the doll back into the box and put it in the trunk of his car. Right at that moment, the police brought Grandma back. She was still in a state of panic, only stuttering that she was pulling her granddaughter down from the bridge railing when, suddenly, she was bitten by something. The police extracted video from a nearby surveillance camera. In the grainy footage, she ran over to hug a little girl on the bridge railing and pull her down. Just a few seconds later, another little girl suddenly lunged at her, causing her to stagger and fall. Suzuki guessed that it was Mai who had bitten Grandma, but he didn't dare breathe a word to the police. When they got home, Suzuki noticed the bite mark on Grandma's arm. The bite force was so strong it even snapped her watch strap. He immediately took the watch strap into the room and pried open Mai's mouth to compare the break with the little girl's teeth. Just then, Mai opened her eyes and screamed loudly. The next day, a guy from the temple arrived to take the doll away. He carefully wrapped the doll tightly in a cloth and placed it back in the box. Suzuki wanted to ask about the doll's history, but the guy just gave vague, dismissive answers. At exactly 10 a.m., Suzuki was at the temple to witness the ritual with his own eyes. Not just that, but many other dolls were to be cremated today. 2 grand masters solemnly chanted prayers for the departed souls, while the others lit the fire. The flames quickly flared up, swallowing the pile of dolls, sending them back to dust and ashes. Suzuki filmed the scene and showed it to his wife to put her mind at ease. But neither of them suspected that A had not been cremated at all. The buzzcut guy knew the history of doll, so he secretly swapped it with a different one and took A to an antique shop to sell it. The shop owner examined it carefully and confirmed it was indeed a work by the artisan. He appraised it at around 100,000 yen because the doll was missing its original kimonos. The guy scoffed at the low price, so he grabbed the doll and headed to another shop. Unexpectedly, on the way, he was suddenly overcome by intense nausea. Clumps of soaking wet hair spewed endlessly from his mouth, and he staggered and fell down the escalator, unconscious. The box containing the doll fell with him and shattered into pieces. The buzzcut guy was rushed to the emergency room at the very hospital where Suzuki worked. Right after that, the head monk personally brought the doll back to Suzuki. He confessed everything and apologized for being helpless against this doll, then advised him to seek out a doll purification expert. Desperate, Suzuki contacted the expert the head monk recommended. As soon as he heard the story, the expert immediately told him to put the doll in a box and absolutely not touch it. But the problem was that the box was broken, so the expert instructed him not to let anyone touch the doll until he arrived. But as soon as he hung up, a colleague innocently picked up the doll and hugged it, causing Suzuki to panic. She said she heard a rattling sound coming from inside. Suzuki tried shaking it gently, and a white object fell out of the doll's mouth. It looked exactly like a child's tooth. Even though he knew it was absurd, Suzuki still asked his colleague to x-ray the doll. The result sent a chill down both their spines. Inside the doll was a complete skeleton of a child. Just then, Yoshi arrived and saw everything. The police officer didn't believe in ghost stories, so he demanded to confiscate the doll for investigation. Suzuki was so exhausted he agreed to hand this burden over to him. Just as they were leaving, the doll purification expert, Kanda, arrived. Kanda warned that this was not something the police could handle. But of course, the police officer didn't believe him at all. When he learned the officer planned to take the doll to the forensic lab, Kanda told Suzuki and his wife to follow them. At the very least, they had to ensure the doll was transported to a safe place. On the way, Kanda affirmed that what they experienced wasn't delusion or autosuggestion. He pointed to the talismans drawn on the outside of the box and explained, "Normally, amulets are created to protect the owner, but these talismans were written for the doll inside. Therefore, you have to reverse them to read the text. Let the mystical power surround and return to its origin." Kanda said it was a form of curse reversal used to imprison whatever was inside. Right at that moment, they were forced to stop at a red light. The police officer continued into a tunnel, turned his head, and suddenly the doll was gone. Then, unexpectedly, a little girl appeared right in front of his car. He panicked, got out to check, but saw no one. When he bent down, only then did he see that the little girl had been pulled under the wheel, and he hurriedly reversed the car to save her. When the three of them, Suzuki, Yoshi, and Kanda, caught up, they saw the police officer kneeling on the ground, hugging the doll, sobbing uncontrollably like a madman. Kanda quickly went behind him, chanted a spell really fast, and then delivered a palm strike to the officer's back, silencing him instantly. Then Kanda immediately stuffed the doll into a special suitcase, locked its entire body tight, and sealed it thoroughly. Kanda turned to tell the couple they had to go with him to meet a doll collector, someone who had researched the artisan Kokichi Yasumoto very deeply. Perhaps he could provide a clue to end this curse. As soon as he saw, the collector confirmed with certainty that this was indeed a doll created by Kokichi Yasumoto. Then he began to recount a story he had personally witnessed from his time as a police officer in a village in Niigata Prefecture. That year, a man claiming to be Kokichi Yasumoto came to the station to turn himself in, and what he recounted was hard to believe. The villagers said his daughter had gone missing, but he insisted that wasn't true. I was born so frail she couldn't leave the house. His wife, out of too much love for her child, sought death together with her, but the attempt failed. Only died, while the wife survived. To cover up his wife's crime, Kokichi did things no one dared to imagine. He covered A's bones with a layer of clay, implanted hair and fingernails for the little girl, and created what he considered the most beautiful doll he had ever made. Later, following his wife's dying wish, the doll was placed in her coffin and buried on the island. The collector recounted that he had gone to the island to verify the story. The wife's grave was still there, but inside were only her remains. There was no trace of the doll. Around that time, Kokichi's dolls were selling for very high prices. Someone must have dug up the grave and stolen it. Yoshi asked Kanda to help return the doll to its mother, and she wanted to go along too. As a mother herself, Yoshi believed that A and Teiko must be longing to see each other again. Kanda reminded them that Kanajima Island had long been considered a haunted place. Suzuki immediately remembered the paranormal commando squad. He said that the group had gone to the island to search without encountering any trouble. But Kanda rewatched the video and instantly noticed something unusual. In the group that set foot on the island, one person was wearing a red shirt, but when they left, that person had vanished. Yet the total count was still 5 people. That night, the 3 of them went to a small town near the island and rented a dilapidated inn. Not waiting for morning, Kanda immediately conducted a ritual to locate the grave right in the middle of the night. He spread a map out on the floor, placed a weight attached to a string over it, and began murmuring incantations. The weight suddenly moved on its own, slowly circling over the map before coming to a complete stop at one point. But that wasn't enough. Kanda asked Suzuki and his wife to scan that area, enlarge it 3 times, and print it out to pinpoint the location more precisely. They were supposed to do this one more time, but suddenly the entire house shook violently as if there were an earthquake. Kanda panicked and slammed the suitcase shut, locking the doll inside. Right after that, the candlelight flickered out and the power cut off. The room was plunged into thick darkness. Following Kanda's instructions, Yoshi hurriedly took out her camera. In the flashing strobe of the camera light, they discovered the doll, with a twisted, ferocious face, had escaped. Thanks to Yoshi continuously flashing the light, Suzuki pinpointed the doll's location and quickly grabbed it, stuffing it into a cloth bag. Kanda immediately slapped a talisman onto the bag, but he was still knocked flying by the doll. Luckily, the power suddenly came back on. Only then did the doll stop struggling. But just now, Kanda had been impaled through the foot by a nail. He had to admit he had underestimated the doll. Because of his injured foot, Kanda couldn't continue the search for the grave. He was forced to hand over the remaining responsibility to Suzuki and his wife. Before being taken to the hospital, he gave Suzuki a metal detector, because there used to be a custom of burying 6 coins with the coffin. If they just found the coins, they would find the grave. To get to the island, there was only a single sand path. Every day when the tide receded, the path would be revealed, and they had exactly 2 hours to get back. If they delayed, the path would disappear completely. The couple followed that path, carrying the doll onto the island. It didn't take too much time for them to find the area believed to be Taiko's grave. Suzuki turned on the metal detector and swept around, but there was no signal. Meanwhile, the tide was rising rapidly. They only had about 30 minutes left to get off the island. Just when both were almost in despair, the detector suddenly beeped. The couple immediately started digging frantically. Finally, Taiko's grave appeared. After confirming it, they clasped their hands in prayer and gently placed the doll down next to its mother. Right at that moment, Yoshi dropped Mai's photo into the grave. Suzuki urged his wife to leave immediately, but Yoshi still tried to reach down to retrieve the photo and ended up falling in. At the same time, ash from the incense fell onto the cloth bag wrapping the doll, causing it to catch fire. When the talisman stuck on the bag burned away, that was the moment the ferocious doll escaped. Yoshi panicked and tried to climb up, but the doll grabbed her leg and pulled her down. Thanks to Suzuki's help, Yoshi managed to escape. Suzuki hurriedly slammed the grave lid shut, thinking they were safe. But who would have guessed? The doll grabbed Yoshi's hair and pulled her down. In a life-or-death moment, Yoshi quick-wittedly smashed the photo frame and used a shard of glass to slice off her hair. Thanks to that, she escaped death by a hair's breadth. Only then did the couple dare to breathe a sigh of relief. When they both returned home, little Mai joyfully ran out and hugged her mother tight. But the embrace squeezed tighter and tighter, so tight that Yoshi couldn't breathe. She panicked and grabbed a mirror to look, only to realize the thing hugging her wasn't Mai. It was the ferocious doll. At the same time, Suzuki saw Mai trapped inside the washing machine, but the door wouldn't open. He panicked, grabbed a shovel, and smashed it repeatedly to save his child. But it turned out that all of that was just a hallucination. In reality, Yoshi was still trapped inside the grave. It wasn't until Suzuki smashed the washing machine door and pulled his child out that he finally realized what was happening. The little girl pulled him over to where Yoshi was being strangled by the doll, gently removed the doll from Yoshi, and then dragged it away. Yoshi called out, telling her to wait a moment, but the little girl just shook her head and dragged away into the darkness. Yoshi tried to chase after them, but Suzuki managed to hold her back just in time. In that exact moment, she actually escaped from the grave. Perhaps it was Mai's spirit that saved her parents one last time. Suzuki and his wife returned home with Mai. Everything looked like a perfect, happy ending. But Mai's grandparents sought out Kanda, telling him that they hadn't been able to contact Suzuki and his wife for over a week. When the 3 of them arrived at the house, they saw 3 portions of food on the dining table. 2 portions had been eaten, but Mai's portion was left completely untouched. Kanda discovered something even more horrifying. In the video clip of Mai talking to the doll, it seemed like A was demanding to swap mothers with Mai, but Mai had firmly refused. Turns out A hated her own mother because she used to beat her constantly. They should never have brought A back to her mother. Meanwhile, Suzuki and his wife were happily taking their daughter for a walk, completely unaware that the doll had taken Mai's place. Who knows when? It turns out that from the moment they left the island, Suzuki and his wife had been psychologically manipulated by the doll. There was no escape at all. They are living in a happy delusion with a fake daughter, while the fate of the real Mai remains unknown. See you guys in the next videos.